The year was 2387, and Earth had never seen anything like it. Giant alien ships appeared in the sky without warning, blocking out the sun over major cities around the world. The ships were massive, each one bigger than a mountain, and they came from a race called the Zephyrians. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship, the UES Liberty, watching the impossible sight through the main screen. The Zephyrian fleet had 12 massive warships positioned around Earth. Each ship was dark gray with sharp edges and glowing red lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. They had been traveling through space for months to reach Earth, and now they hung in orbit like deadly storm clouds. The largest ship was directly above North America, and it was from this ship that the alien leader sent his message. Warlord. Kethavar appeared on every screen on Earth at the same time. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His voice was cold and emotionless when he spoke. He told humanity that Earth now belonged to the Zephyrian Empire. All humans would become slaves and work in alien mining colonies on distant worlds. Earth's governments had exactly 24 hours to surrender completely, or every human city would be destroyed. Captain Lisa Hayes was in her fighter ship when the message played. She led a squadron of Earth's best pilots, and they were already in space preparing for battle. Her team included Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, who had been flying fighters for 10 years, and Commander Kate Phillips, who was known for her incredible flying skills. All 3 pilots knew that their small ships were no match for the alien warships. But they had to try. Dr. Alex Carter was in the command bunker deep underground in Geneva. He was Earth's top expert on alien life, even though he had never seen a real alien before today. He was studying the Zephyrian communications and learning disturbing things about their empire. The aliens had conquered 15 other worlds in the past century. They always used the same method. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, then take every healthy person as a slave. The first battle began 2 hours after the alien message ended. Earth had spent the last 100 years building a strong defense fleet, but the Zephyrian ships were far more advanced. The alien warships had energy shields that could stop any human weapon. Their plasma cannons could cut through Earth's strongest armor like it was paper. In the first attack, 3 Earth destroyers were completely vaporized in less than 5 minutes. Admiral Morrison watched in horror as his ships were destroyed one by one. He had 40 ships in the defense fleet, but they might as well have been throwing rocks at the aliens. The Zephyrian weapons were incredibly powerful, and their shields seemed impossible to break through. Even the newest Earth ships with quantum torpedoes could barely scratch the alien hulls. Captain Tony Blake led a desperate attack against one of the smaller Zephyrian ships. His destroyer managed to get close enough to fire all weapons at point-blank range. The alien ship's shields absorbed every shot without even flickering. In response, the Zephyrian ship fired once. Blake's destroyer was cut in half and began spinning helplessly through space. Blake and 6 of his crew managed to escape in a small pod before their ship exploded. Down on Earth, people watched the battle on television and through internet streams. The aliens were not trying to hide what was happening. They wanted everyone to see how easily they could destroy Earth's defenses. In major cities around the world, people gathered in streets and public squares, looking up at the dark ships above them. Many people were crying. Others were praying. Some were angry and wanted to fight. But there was nothing they could do. Commander Rachel Stone was in charge of evacuating the biggest cities. She knew it was an impossible job. There were billions of people on Earth and only hours to move them to safety. The problem was that there was no real safety anywhere. The alien ships could destroy any target on the planet from orbit. The best they could do was move people away from the largest population centers and hope the aliens would focus their attacks on military targets. Dr. Claire Morgan worked with Dr. Carter to study a piece of alien technology that had broken off from one of their ships. The metal was unlike anything on Earth. It was incredibly strong but also very light. More importantly, it seemed to generate its own energy field. This explained how the alien shields worked, but it also showed how far behind Earth's technology really was. As the first day of the invasion ended, Earth had lost half of its defense fleet. The remaining ships pulled back to defensive positions around the major continents, but everyone knew they were just delaying the inevitable. The Zephyrians began moving large weapons platforms into position above Earth's biggest cities. These platforms were designed for orbital bombardment and could level entire metropolitan areas with a single shot. In the command bunker, Admiral Morrison held an emergency meeting with world leaders. President Helen Davis authorized the use of nuclear weapons, but the military experts said there was only a small chance they would work against the alien shields. As night fell over a world under siege, humanity prepared for what might be its final battle. The second day brought even worse news for Earth. The Zephyrians had finished positioning their bombardment platforms during the night. At dawn, they began their systematic destruction of human civilization. The first target was New York City's Orbital Defense Station, a massive structure that protected the entire east coast of North America. Captain Tony Blake had survived his ship's destruction and was now commanding a small group of fighters from a temporary base on the moon. He watched helplessly as the aliens destroyed the defense station with a single blast from their largest bombardment platform. The explosion was visible from space, a bright flash that meant millions of people below had lost their protection. Commander Rachel Stone was coordinating evacuations around the world, but the situation was becoming hopeless. The aliens were targeting any large group of people they could find. Refugee camps, emergency shelters, and evacuation sites were all being destroyed from orbit. It was clear that the Zephyrians did not just want to conquer Earth. They wanted to break the human spirit completely. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Foster was receiving reports from military bases around the globe. The news was terrible from every continent. The European Defense Force had been completely destroyed trying to protect London and Paris. Both cities were now burning ruins. The Asian Pacific Fleet had lasted longer, but they too were overwhelmed when the aliens focused their attacks on Tokyo and Singapore. In Australia, the entire defense network had gone silent 12 hours ago. No one knew if anyone was still alive on the continent. South America's mountain bases were still fighting, but they were cut off from all communication with the rest of the world. Africa's mobile defense units were scattered and running low on fuel and ammunition. Dr. Claire Morgan had been working without sleep for 36 hours, trying to find some weakness in the alien technology. She had pieces of destroyed Zephyrian equipment spread across 3 laboratory tables, but every test showed the same result. The alien materials were far superior to anything humans had developed. Their energy shields changed frequency every few seconds, making it impossible to find a way through them. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center of the UES Liberty, looking at a tactical display that showed the positions of his remaining ships. He had started the battle with 40 vessels. Now he had only 18 ships left that were still capable of fighting. The rest had been destroyed or damaged so badly they could not continue. The Admiral had made the most painful decision of his military career. He ordered all remaining Earthships to pull back and form a defensive line around North and South America. This meant abandoning Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia to the aliens. He knew that billions of people were being left to face the Zephyrians alone, but he had no choice. If he spread his forces too thin, Earth would lose everything. Captain Lisa Hayes was still leading fighter attacks against the alien fleet, but she knew they were not making any real difference. Her squadron had shot down several alien scout ships, but the main fleet remained untouched. For every small victory, Earth lost 10 times as much. Her pilots were exhausted, and many of her friends had already been killed in the fighting. Dr. Alex Carter had been monitoring alien communications since the invasion began. He was learning more about Zephyrian culture and their methods of conquest. The aliens saw humans as nothing more than useful animals. They planned to take the strongest and smartest humans to work as slaves in their mining colonies. The rest would be left on Earth to die slowly as the planet's environment was stripped of all valuable resources. The Zephyrian leader, Warlord Kethvar, appeared on global communications again as the second day ended. He announced that Earth's resistance was pathetic and that the final assault would begin at sunrise. All human military forces had until dawn to surrender unconditionally. If they continued to fight, every major city on Earth would be reduced to ash. In the command bunker beneath Geneva, world leaders held what they knew might be their final meeting. President Helen Davis spoke with the heads of government from the few countries that still had working communication systems. They discussed using every nuclear weapon on Earth in one massive attack, but the scientists estimated only a 12% chance of success. The mood in the bunker was grim. Many people were recording final messages to their families. Others were praying or simply sitting in silence. Outside, the night sky was lit up by explosions, as the few remaining Earth ships tried to slow down the alien advance. Every few minutes, another human ship would disappear from the tactical displays. Commander Danny Wright was monitoring space around Earth for any sign of hope. His sensors showed that more Zephyrian ships were arriving every hour. The aliens were bringing in additional bombardment platforms and troop transport vessels. It was clear they were preparing for a ground invasion once they had destroyed all human resistance. Captain Larry Peterson commanded one of the last operational destroyers in Earth's fleet. His ship had taken heavy damage, but was still fighting. He and his crew knew they probably would not survive the next day, but they were determined to make the aliens pay for every human life. His gunners had managed to damage 2 alien scout ships, the most success any Earth vessel had achieved. As the third day dawned over a burning Earth, Admiral Morrison prepared to give the order for humanity's final attack. Every remaining ship would charge directly at the largest Zephyrian vessel in a desperate attempt to destroy their command ship. It was almost certainly a suicide mission, but it was the only chance left to hurt the aliens before Earth fell completely. The fate of humanity now rested on 18 battered ships and the courage of their crews. Admiral Morrison was about to give the order for Earth's final desperate attack when something impossible happened. Space near the moon began to shimmer and bend like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The sensors on every human and alien ship detected massive gravitational distortions that should not have been possible. Captain Lisa Hayes was leading her fighter squadron in what she thought would be their last mission when she saw it first. The space between Earth and the moon started to ripple and twist. Then, as if it was being painted into existence by an invisible hand, a ship began to appear. It was unlike anything she had ever seen or imagined. The mysterious vessel was enormous, stretching nearly 3 kilometers from front to back. Its hull was completely black, so dark that it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The ship had a smooth, organic shape that looked more like a living creature than a machine built by any known technology. Strange patterns of energy pulsed along its surface in slow, hypnotic waves. Commander Danny Wright was staring at his sensor displays in complete confusion. The unknown ship was showing readings that made no sense. It had appeared without any warning, with no energy signature that Earth's equipment could identify. The vessel's mass was enormous, but it was not showing up on gravitational sensors, the way it should have. It was as if the ship existed in normal space but followed completely different physical laws. The Zephyrians reacted to the mysterious ship's arrival with immediate suspicion and anger. Their formation began to shift as the alien warships turned to face this new threat. Warlord Kethvar sent a demanding message to the unknown vessel, ordering it to identify itself and explain its presence in Zephyrian-controlled space. The response came in perfect Zephyrian language, broadcast on all frequencies so that every ship in the system could hear it. The voice was calm and spoke with absolute authority. It said simply that Earth was under protection and that the Zephyrian fleet should withdraw immediately. The message was repeated 3 times and then silence returned to space. Dr. Alex Carter was frantically trying to analyze the transmission from the mysterious ship. The signal had been broadcast using technology that was far beyond anything humans or Zephyrians possessed. More puzzling was the fact that the ship seemed to know exactly how to communicate with the aliens. This suggested that whoever was inside the vessel had extensive knowledge of Zephyrian culture and language. Captain Tony Blake had managed to get close enough to the mysterious ship to get detailed visual readings. What he saw made him question everything he thought he knew about space travel and engineering. The ship's hull appeared to be made from a single piece of material with no visible seams, joints, or construction marks. There were no engine ports, weapon emplacements, or any other features that would normally be found on a spacecraft. The most disturbing thing about the mysterious vessel was how it moved through space. It did not seem to use any kind of propulsion system that human science could understand. The ship simply went where it wanted to go without any visible means of acceleration or maneuvering. It was as if the vessel could ignore the basic laws of physics that governed all other objects in space. Admiral Morrison tried to contact the unknown ship using every communication method available to Earth's fleet. He sent messages in dozens of languages and on hundreds of different frequencies. The mysterious vessel received all of his transmissions, but did not respond to any of them. It simply maintained its position between Earth and the largest Zephyrian warship. Dr. Claire Morgan was studying the energy readings from the mysterious ship and becoming more confused with every measurement. The vessel was generating power levels. That should have been impossible for anything smaller than a star. Yet there was no radiation, no heat signature, and no other signs of the massive energy production that her instruments were detecting. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Foster was coordinating with military leaders around the world, trying to determine if anyone had any information about the mysterious ship. Every nation's space agencies and military organizations were contacted, but no one had any record of such a vessel. The ship did not match any known human technology, and it was clearly far more advanced than anything the Zephyrians possessed. The standoff in space continued for several hours. The Zephyrian fleet remained in attack formation, ready to destroy both Earth and the mysterious intruder. The unknown ship held its position without moving or showing any signs of hostile intent. Earth's remaining vessels stayed in their defensive positions, unsure whether this new arrival was a friend or just another enemy. Commander Rachel Stone was monitoring communications from around the globe, hoping to find some clue about where the mysterious ship had come from. Emergency broadcasts from the few remaining government centers all asked the same questions. Was this ship from another human colony that had been lost to history? Was it built by some secret military project? Or was this Earth's first contact with a truly advanced alien civilization? Captain Larry Peterson kept his destroyer's weapons trained on the mysterious ship, but he had orders not to fire unless it showed hostile intent. The problem was that no one could tell what the vessel's intentions were. It had appeared without warning, ignored all attempts at communication, and now seemed content to simply wait and watch the battle unfold. As the hours passed, tension in. The solar system continued to build. The Zephyrians were clearly growing impatient with the mysterious ship's presence. Their fleet began to spread out into a wider attack formation, preparing to engage both Earth and the unknown vessel at the same time. It was obvious that Warlord Kethvar was not going to allow anything to interfere with his conquest of humanity. The mysterious ship remained motionless and silent, like a giant black shadow floating in the darkness of space. Whatever secrets it held, and whoever controlled it, would soon be revealed, because the Zephyrians were preparing to attack. Warlord Kethvar had built his reputation on crushing any resistance to Zephyrian rule. He would not allow some unknown ship to interfere with his conquest of Earth. After hours of waiting and receiving no response to his demands, he decided to destroy the mysterious vessel and continue with his original plan to enslave humanity. 3 of the largest Zephyrian heavy cruisers broke formation and moved into attack positions around the unknown ship. Each cruiser was over a kilometer long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Their plasma cannons began charging with a deep red glow that could be seen from Earth. The alien ships had never failed to destroy their target in over a century of conquest. Captain Lisa Hayes watched the attack develop from her fighter cockpit. She had seen what Zephyrian plasma cannons could do to Earth's strongest warships. The mysterious black vessel was about to face the combined firepower of 3 alien heavy cruisers. No matter how advanced its technology might be, she could not imagine any ship surviving such an assault. The first Zephyrian cruiser fired its main plasma cannon directly at the center of the mysterious ship. The beam was so bright that it temporarily blinded the optical sensors on every nearby vessel. The energy discharge was powerful enough to melt through a mountain of solid rock. It struck the black hull of the unknown ship and simply vanished without leaving any trace of damage. Commander Danny Wright was monitoring the attack from his sensor station when something impossible happened. His instruments clearly showed the plasma beam hitting the mysterious ship, but there was no explosion, no energy dispersal, and no damage of any kind. The deadly weapon had simply ceased to exist the moment it touched the black hull. The second and third Zephyrian cruisers fired together, sending a barrage of plasma beams and quantum torpedoes at the mysterious vessel. The combined attack contained enough destructive energy to level a major city. Again, every weapon simply disappeared when it reached the unknown ship. There were no shields visible, no defensive systems activating, yet the devastating assault had absolutely no effect. Dr. Claire Morgan was frantically checking her instruments, convinced that her equipment must be malfunctioning. The energy readings showed massive weapons striking the mysterious ship, but there was no corresponding explosion or damage. It was as if the vessel existed in normal space, but was somehow immune to any form of attack. The mysterious ship remained motionless during the entire assault. It showed no signs of taking evasive action or returning fire. The black hull continued to pulse with its strange energy patterns, as if nothing had happened. For several minutes, space around the vessel was filled with the light of Zephyrian weapons, but the ship itself remained completely untouched. Then the unknown vessel responded. A single beam of silver energy emerged from somewhere on its hull. The beam was thin, no wider than a person's arm, and it moved slowly through space, toward the first Zephyrian cruiser. Unlike the violent plasma weapons of the aliens, this silver beam seemed almost gentle as it traveled across the darkness. Captain Tony Blake was watching through his ship's telescopes when the silver beam reached the Zephyrian cruiser. The beam passed through the aliens' energy shields as if they did not exist. It touched the hull of the massive warship and spread across its surface like liquid mercury. Within seconds, the entire cruiser was covered in a thin layer of silver energy. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every system on the Zephyrian ship stopped working at exactly the same moment. The plasma cannons went silent, the engines shut down, and all lights went out. The massive warship, which had been a symbol of alien power just moments before, became nothing more than a dead hulk drifting through space. Admiral Morrison watched in amazement as the same thing happened to the other two Zephyrian cruisers. The mysterious ship fired two more silver beams, each one moving with the same deliberate slowness. When the beams touched the alien warships, their advanced technology simply stopped functioning. Three of the most powerful vessels in the Zephyrian fleet had been neutralized without being destroyed. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Foster was receiving reports from monitoring stations around the world. The silver beams had not damaged the Zephyrian ships in any conventional sense. The hulls were intact, there were no explosions, and no debris had been created. The alien vessels were simply powerless, floating in space like giant metal coffins. Dr. Alex Carter was studying the alien communications when he heard something that chilled him to the bone. Distress calls were coming from inside the disabled Zephyrian ships. The alien crews were still alive, but they were trapped. Their life support systems had failed. Their escape pods would not function, and their communication equipment was dead. The mysterious weapon had turned the mighty warships into death traps for their own crews. The rest of the Zephyrian fleet reacted with shock and fear. They had never encountered any technology that could defeat their shields and weapons so easily. Warlord Kethavar began issuing frantic orders to his remaining ships, but his voice had lost its usual confidence. For the first time in his military career, he was facing an enemy that seemed completely invulnerable. Captain Larry Peterson kept his destroyer's sensors focused on the mysterious ship, trying to understand what had just happened. The silver beams had appeared to be some kind of advanced energy weapon, but they behaved unlike anything in human or alien science. The beams had not destroyed their targets, but had somehow turned off every piece of technology they touched. Commander Rachel Stone was coordinating with emergency response teams on Earth, preparing for whatever might happen next. The mysterious ship had proven it could defeat Zephyrian technology with ease, but no one knew what its intentions were toward humanity. The vessel might be Earth's salvation, or it could be an even greater threat than the aliens. The black ship continued to hold its position in space, showing no signs of preparing for another attack. Its strange energy patterns pulsed along the hull in their slow, hypnotic rhythm. Three Zephyrian heavy cruisers drifted helplessly nearby, their crews slowly dying as their life support systems failed. The balance of power in the solar system had changed completely in just a few minutes. The Zephyrian fleet was in chaos. Warlord Kethvar had never faced an enemy that could defeat his most powerful warships so easily. His remaining 9 ships were pulling back to a safer distance while he tried to decide what to do next. The 3 Disabled cruisers continued to drift helplessly through space, their crews sending increasingly desperate distress signals. Captain Lisa Hayes was still leading her fighter squadron near the mysterious black ship when something unexpected happened. Her communication system activated with an incoming transmission on a frequency that only Earth ships used. The voice that came through her speakers was clearly human, speaking with a slight accent that sounded like it came from the southern part of North America. The voice said, "Earth vessels, this is Captain Ben Clark of the UES Phantom. Sorry we're late to the party, but we're here now." The transmission was calm and friendly, as if the speaker was greeting old friends rather than making first contact with a desperate fleet. Hayes immediately forwarded the message to Admiral Morrison and requested permission to respond. Admiral Morrison was stunned when he heard the transmission. He quickly searched Earth's military databases for any record of a ship called the UES Phantom or a Captain Ben Clark. The search came back with no results. There was no such ship in the Earth Defense Fleet, and no officer with that name had ever served in any branch of human space forces. Dr. Alex Carter was equally confused by the transmission. The voice was definitely human, speaking perfect English with regional dialect patterns that indicated the speaker had grown up on Earth. But the mysterious ship's technology was far beyond anything humans had ever developed. How could a human crew be operating such an advanced vessel? The transmission continued, and Captain Clark's voice came through clearly on all Earth communication channels. "Admiral Morrison, we have a lot to discuss, but first let's clean up this mess. Human ships, fall back to defensive positions around Earth. We'll handle the Zephyrians from here." Admiral Morrison was torn between relief and suspicion. If the mysterious ship really was operated by humans, it could mean salvation for Earth. But he had no way to verify the identity of the unknown vessel or its crew. After quick consultation with his senior officers, he decided to respond cautiously. "Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. Please provide verification of your identity and explain how you acquired your advanced technology. We need proof that you are actually human before we can trust your intentions, Captain." Clark's response came immediately. "Admiral, I understand your suspicion, but we don't have time for a lengthy verification process. The Zephyrians are preparing to call for reinforcements, and we need to finish this battle quickly. Trust me when I say that Earth's survival depends on what happens in the next few hours." Lieutenant Colonel Mike Foster was monitoring Zephyrian communications and confirmed that Clark was correct. Warlord Kethvar was indeed sending distress signals to other parts of the alien empire. If more Zephyrian ships arrived, even the mysterious vessel might not be able to protect Earth from a much larger invasion force. The UES Phantom began moving toward the main Zephyrian fleet with the same impossible grace it had shown earlier. The black ship accelerated without any visible means of propulsion, reaching incredible speeds in seconds. As it approached the alien vessels, it began firing more of the silver energy beams that had disabled the three cruisers. Captain Tony Blake watched in amazement as the Phantom systematically attacked each Zephyrian ship. The silver beams moved through space like living things, seeking out their targets with perfect accuracy. Each beam that struck an alien vessel had the same effect as before. The ship's technology simply stopped working, leaving the crew trapped inside a powerless hull. Dr. Claire Morgan was recording everything her instruments could detect about the Phantom's weapons. The silver beams appeared to be some kind of advanced electromagnetic pulse that could shut down any electronic system. But the technology required to generate such precise and powerful pulses was centuries beyond current human capabilities. Within 30 minutes, the entire Zephyrian fleet had been neutralized. 12 massive warships that had seemed invincible just hours before were now drifting helplessly through space. Their crews were alive, but trapped, completely dependent on rescue to survive. The most powerful invasion force in Zephyrian history had been defeated without the destruction of a single ship. Commander Danny Wright was trying to understand how such an outcome was possible. The Phantom had not killed any of the alien invaders, but had instead chosen to disable their ships and spare their lives. This suggested that whoever controlled the mysterious vessel had very different goals than simply destroying Earth's enemies. Captain Clark's voice returned to the communication. Channels with another message for Admiral Morrison. Admiral, we need to meet in person to discuss Earth's future. Please prepare a small diplomatic team, and we'll transport them aboard the Phantom. I promise you'll find our conversation very enlightening. Admiral Morrison was hesitant to board an unknown vessel, but he realized he had little choice. Phantom had just saved Earth from certain destruction, and its crew claimed to be human. If there was any chance that this was true, he needed to learn more about these mysterious allies and their incredible technology. Captain Larry Peterson volunteered to accompany the Admiral on what could be a very dangerous mission. He had commanded one of the few Earth ships to survive the battle and was eager to meet the people who had saved his world. Dr. Carter also requested permission to join the diplomatic team, hoping to learn more about the Phantom's advanced technology. Commander Rachel Stone coordinated the rescue operations for the disabled Zephyrian ships. Even though the aliens had tried to enslave humanity, Earth's forces began sending emergency supplies and medical aid to the trapped crews. This act of mercy was broadcast throughout the solar system, showing that humans were capable of compassion even toward their enemies. As Admiral Morrison prepared to board the mysterious vessel, he wondered what secrets he would discover inside. The Phantom had saved Earth, but many questions remained unanswered. Who was Captain Ben Clark, and how had he acquired such advanced technology? Where had the UES Phantom come from, and why had it arrived at exactly the right moment to save humanity from destruction? Admiral Morrison, Captain Larry Peterson, and Dr. Alex Carter found themselves standing in a small transport chamber aboard the UES Phantom. They had been brought aboard using a technology that defied all human understanding. One moment they were on the bridge of the Liberty, and the next they were inside the mysterious ship without any sense of movement or transition. The interior of the Phantom was unlike anything the three men had ever seen. The corridors were wide and smoothly curved, with walls that seemed to glow with their own soft light. There were no visible control panels, switches, or displays anywhere. Instead, information appeared as floating holographic images that moved through the air like gentle ghosts. Captain Ben Clark met them at the entrance to the transport chamber. He appeared to be in his early 40s with brown hair and green eyes. He wore a uniform that looked similar to Earth Defense Fleet designs, but was made from materials that seemed to shift color depending on the angle of view. Most importantly, he was definitely human in every way that mattered. "Welcome aboard the Phantom, gentlemen," Clark said with a warm smile. "I know you have questions, and I promise to answer all of them. But first, let me introduce you to my crew and show you around our ship. I think you'll find it very interesting." As they walked through the corridors, the three visitors were amazed by the technology surrounding them. The ship seemed to be alive in some way, responding to the crew's needs without any visible commands being given. Doors opened automatically. Lights adjusted their brightness based on who was present, and the air itself seemed to carry a faint energy that made them feel more alert and focused. Lieutenant Amy Foster, the Phantom's tactical officer, joined them as they toured the ship. She was a young woman with short black hair and intelligent brown eyes. Like Captain Clark, she was clearly human, but she operated control systems that were far beyond current Earth technology. When Dr. Carter asked her about the ship's weapons, she smiled and said the silver beams were just the beginning of what the Phantom could do. Commander Nick Bailey, the ship's science officer, was working in what appeared to be the main laboratory. He was a tall man with gray hair and a friendly manner that reminded Admiral Morrison of the professors he had known at the Space Academy. Bailey was studying data from the recent battle and seemed genuinely excited to meet visitors from what he called Early Earth. The most impressive part of the tour was the ship's command center. Unlike the cramped bridge of a normal spacecraft, this room was enormous and filled with floating displays that showed information about everything happening in the solar system. Captain Clark could monitor every ship, track every communication, and observe every planet in the system from this single location. "How is this possible?" Dr. Carter asked, staring at a display that showed detailed information about Earth's weather patterns. The computing power required for this level of surveillance should be impossible to achieve, even with our most advanced systems. Commander Bailey laughed and gestured toward what appeared to be an empty corner of the room. "Our computer is right over there," he said. "Of course, you can't see it because it exists in what you might call folded space. The processing core is actually about the size of a small moon, but we've compressed it into a space smaller than a grain of sand." Admiral Morrison was beginning to understand that the Phantom represented technology that was centuries ahead of anything Earth had developed. But he still needed answers to the most important questions. "Captain Clark, you need to tell us who you really are and where this ship came from. Earth's survival may depend on understanding your true intentions." Captain Clark nodded and gestured for them to sit in chairs that seemed to form themselves out of the ship's floor. "Admiral, what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I need you to listen carefully. The UES Phantom and her crew are from Earth's future. We've traveled back in time approximately 500 years to ensure that this battle happens exactly as it's supposed to." The three visitors stared at Clark in shocked silence. Time travel was still considered pure science fiction by Earth's scientists. Even the most advanced theoretical physicists had concluded that traveling backward in time was impossible according to the known laws of physics. "You're claiming to be from the year 2887? Captain Peterson asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "That's impossible. Time travel is purely theoretical, and even our best scientists say it can't be done." Lieutenant Foster activated a holographic display that showed historical records from her time period. The information detailed Earth's development over the next 5 centuries, including the expansion into space, contact with dozens of alien civilizations, and humanity's eventual rise to become one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. "In our timeline," she explained, "Earth not only survives the Zephyrian invasion, but uses the captured alien technology to advance rapidly. Within a century, humans have colonies throughout this galaxy and are exploring neighboring star systems. But this battle is a crucial turning point. If it doesn't happen exactly right, Earth's future development is severely compromised." Dr. Carter was studying the historical data with growing amazement. According to the records, humanity would develop faster than light travel within 50 years of the Zephyrian invasion. Earth would make contact with peaceful alien civilizations and form alliances that would lead to incredible technological advancement. Most remarkably, humans would become known throughout the galaxy for their compassion and wisdom. Commander. Bailey brought up additional displays showing Earth's future timeline. The Zephyrians will return in exactly 50 years with a much larger invasion force, he explained. But by then, humanity will be ready for them. Earth's technology will have advanced enough to defeat the aliens in open battle without any help from time travelers. Admiral Morrison was struggling to accept what he was hearing. If this is all true, why did you intervene at all? Why not let the battle play out naturally? Captain Clark's expression became serious. Because in the original timeline, mysterious ships appeared to save Earth during the Zephyrian invasion. We are those mysterious ships, Admiral. We're not changing history. We're ensuring that it happens the way it's supposed to. This is a temporal loop that has always existed. The implications of Clark's words were staggering. If he was telling the truth, then the Phantom's intervention was not changing the past, but fulfilling it. The mysterious ship that had saved. Earth was always supposed to be there, operated by humans from the future who had traveled back to ensure their own history remained intact. Lieutenant Foster activated another display showing the current status of the disabled Zephyrian fleet. We have about 6 hours before we need to return to our own time period, she said. During that time, we can share some basic technological improvements that will help Earth defend itself better. But we can't give you anything too advanced or it might disrupt the natural development timeline. The next few hours aboard the UES Phantom changed everything Admiral Morrison thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe. Captain Clark and his crew shared information that painted a picture of Earth's incredible future, but they were careful not to reveal too much about specific events or technologies that might disrupt the natural timeline. Commander Bailey showed Dr. Carter basic improvements to Earth's energy systems that would increase efficiency by 30%. These were relatively simple modifications to existing technology that Earth's scientists could implement within a few years. The improvements would give humanity a significant advantage when the Zephyrians returned, but they would not fundamentally change the pace of human development. Lieutenant Foster worked with Captain Peterson to analyze the weaknesses she had observed in Earth's defense strategies. Her insights came from studying historical records of the battle and identifying tactical errors that had cost human lives unnecessarily. She provided recommendations that would save thousands of Earth personnel in future conflicts without revealing advanced military secrets. The most important thing you need to understand, Captain Clark explained to Admiral Morrison, is that humanity's greatest strength is not its technology or military power. Earth becomes a major galactic civilization because humans have something that most alien species lack, the ability to form genuine friendships with former enemies. Clark activated a holographic display showing the current status of the disabled Zephyrian ships. Earth rescue teams were working alongside human medical personnel to save the lives of trapped alien crew members. This act of mercy was being broadcast throughout Zephyrian space and was causing shockwaves through their empire. Right now, Admiral, you're making decisions that will shape the next 5 centuries of human development. The way Earth treats these defeated Zephyrians will determine whether humanity becomes a feared conqueror or a respected leader. I can tell you from historical records that you're making exactly the right choices. Dr. Carter was fascinated by the medical technology being used to treat injured Zephyrians. The aliens had a very different biological structure than humans, but Earth's doctors were adapting quickly to provide effective care. Commander Bailey explained that this flexibility and compassion would become hallmarks of human civilization in the future. In our time, Bailey said. Earth is home to representatives from over 200 different alien species. They come to study at human universities, work in human research facilities, and participate in human cultural events. Many alien civilizations consider Earth to be the diplomatic center of this part of the galaxy. Admiral Morrison found it difficult to imagine such a future. Earth was currently struggling to survive an alien invasion, and the idea that his world would someday host hundreds of different species seemed like pure fantasy. But the evidence before him suggested that humanity's potential was far greater than anyone had imagined. Captain Clark brought up displays showing other human colonies that would be established over the next few centuries. Earth would eventually have settlements in dozens of star systems, each one contributing to humanity's growing knowledge and influence. The colonies would be founded through peaceful exploration rather than military conquest, setting Earth apart from most other galactic civilizations. The Zephyrians will become one of humanity's closest allies within a century, Lieutenant Foster revealed. The cultural exchange between our species will lead to breakthrough advances in both human and Zephyrian science. But this relationship is only possible because of the mercy Earth shows today. As their time aboard the Phantom drew to a close, the three visitors were given one final gift. Commander Bailey presented them with a small device that looked like a simple metal cube. The device contained detailed plans for improvements to Earth's communication systems that would allow faster coordination between military units during emergency situations. This technology will save lives during the next Zephyrian invasion, Bailey explained. It's a relatively simple upgrade to your existing systems, but it will make Earth's defense forces much more effective. Your engineers should be able to implement these improvements within the next decade. Dr. Carter was amazed by the simplicity and elegance of the designs contained in the device. The improvements were logical extensions of current human technology, but they represented insights that Earth scientists might not have discovered for decades. The gift would accelerate human development without fundamentally changing the direction of technological progress. Captain Peterson was given tactical information about Zephyrian fleet movements and strategies. This intelligence would help Earth prepare more effective defenses for the next invasion. More importantly, it would allow human forces to minimize casualties on both sides when the aliens returned in 50 years. Remember, Captain Clark said, as he prepared to transport his guests back to their own ship, everything we've shown you today was always part of Earth's history. We haven't changed the timeline, we've fulfilled it. The mysterious ship that saved Earth was always supposed to be here, and it was always supposed to be operated by humans from the future. Admiral Morrison was still struggling to fully accept the implications of what he had learned. Captain Clark, if you're really from Earth's future, then you know what decisions I'm going to make over the next few years. Doesn't that knowledge create some kind of paradox? Clark smiled and shook his head. Admiral, you're going to make the right decisions because you're the kind of person who always makes the right decisions. That's why you were chosen to command Earth's defense fleet, and that's why you're remembered as one of history's greatest leaders. We didn't travel back in time to change your choices. We came back to ensure that you have the opportunity to make them. As the three men prepared to return to the Liberty, Lieutenant Foster gave them one final piece of information. The Zephyrians are not humanity's greatest enemy. In about 2 centuries, Earth will face a threat that makes today's invasion look like a minor disagreement. But by then, humans will have the allies, technology, and wisdom needed to prevail. Everything that happens from today forward is building toward that ultimate challenge. The transport process that returned them to their own ship was as seamless as their arrival had been. One moment they were standing in the Phantom's command center, and the next they were back on the bridge of the Liberty. The entire experience felt almost dreamlike, but the small device in Dr. Carter's hand proved that their visit had been real. Through the main screen, they watched as the UES Phantom began to fade from normal space. The mysterious black ship became transparent and then disappeared completely, leaving behind only empty space and the disabled Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Morrison knew that he had just witnessed something that would change the course of human history forever. 3 days after the mysterious ship's disappearance, Earth was beginning to understand the magnitude of what had happened. The Zephyrian invasion fleet remained disabled but intact, floating in space around Earth like monuments to humanity's unexpected victory. Admiral Morrison had made the decision to treat the defeated aliens as prisoners of war rather than enemies to be destroyed, a choice that was already having far-reaching consequences. Captain Lisa Hayes was leading rescue operations aboard the largest Zephyrian vessel. Working alongside Dr. Claire Morgan and a team of Earth's best medical specialists, she was helping to save the lives of alien crew members who had been trapped when their ship's systems failed. The work was difficult because human medicine was not designed for alien biology, but the teams were making remarkable progress. Warlord Kethvar had been among the first aliens rescued from his disabled command ship. He was currently being held in a medical facility on Earth's moon, receiving treatment for injuries he had sustained when his ship's artificial gravity failed. The former Zephyrian leader was struggling to understand why humans were working so hard to save the lives of soldiers who had come to enslave them. Dr. Alex Carter was serving as the primary translator and cultural advisor for Earth's first extended contact with an alien civilization. He had been working closely with Zephyrian officers to understand their culture and establish the foundation for future diplomatic relations. What he was learning challenged many assumptions about alien civilizations and their motivations. The Zephyrians, it turned out, were not naturally cruel or aggressive. Their empire had been built through conquest because they believed it was the only way to survive in a hostile galaxy. For centuries, they had encountered only violent alien species that viewed any sign of weakness as an invitation to attack. The concept of mercy toward defeated enemies was completely foreign to their culture. Commander Rachel Stone was coordinating the massive relief effort required to care for over 50,000 Zephyrian prisoners. Earth's resources were stretched thin, but governments around the world had agreed to provide whatever support was needed. The decision to show compassion to the defeated aliens was seen as a defining moment in human history. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Foster was analyzing intelligence gathered from the Zephyrian ships and discovering disturbing information about the state of the galaxy. Earth was surrounded by dozens of aggressive alien civilizations, most of which viewed humans as primitive creatures, suitable only for exploitation. The Zephyrian invasion had been just the beginning of what could become centuries of conflict. However, the technology gift from the Phantom crew was already making a difference. Dr. Carter and his team had begun implementing the communication system improvements, and early tests showed remarkable results. Earth's military forces would soon have coordination capabilities that exceeded anything the Zephyrians possessed. Captain Tony Blake was working with teams of human engineers to study disabled Zephyrian technology. The alien ships contained advances in energy production, materials science, and propulsion systems that were decades ahead of current human capabilities. By carefully reverse engineering selected systems, Earth's technology could advance rapidly without violating the temporal guidelines the Phantom crew had established. President Helen Davis addressed the United Nations and announced Earth's new policy toward alien civilizations. Humanity would defend itself vigorously against any aggression, but would also offer friendship and cooperation to any species willing to engage in peaceful relations. The speech was broadcast throughout known space and was already generating responses from several alien governments. Admiral Morrison was meeting with his senior staff to plan Earth's defense preparations for the next Zephyrian invasion. According to the information provided by Captain Clark, the aliens would return in 50 years with a much larger fleet. Earth had half a century to prepare for a battle that would determine humanity's survival as an independent civilization. Captain Larry Peterson was overseeing the construction of new defensive installations around Earth's major population centers. The designs incorporated lessons learned from the recent battle, as well as insights provided by the future human crew. The new defenses would be far more effective against Zephyrian weapons while consuming fewer resources than previous systems. Commander Danny Wright was establishing Earth's first interstellar monitoring network. Using technology adapted from captured Zephyrian equipment, human sensors would soon be able to detect alien ship movements throughout the local region of space. Earth would never again be caught by surprise as it had been during the recent invasion. Dr. Claire Morgan was working with Zephyrian medical officers to establish protocols for treating both human and alien injuries. The knowledge gained from this cooperation was leading to breakthrough advances in medical science that would benefit both species. More importantly, the professional relationships being formed were laying the groundwork for future diplomatic ties. 6 months after the battle, Earth received its first diplomatic contact from another alien civilization. The Altarian Republic, a peaceful federation of several species, sent a formal message requesting permission to establish an embassy on Earth. They had heard about humanity's merciful treatment of the defeated Zephyrians and wanted to explore the possibility of an alliance. The arrival of Altarian diplomats marked the beginning of Earth's emergence as a significant player in galactic politics. Over the following years, more alien civilizations would make contact, drawn by humanity's reputation for fairness and innovation. Some would become allies, others would remain neutral, and a few would emerge as enemies, but Earth would never again face its challenges alone. Admiral Morrison often thought about his conversation with Captain Clark aboard the mysterious ship. The future human had spoken about Earth becoming a center of galactic civilization, and those predictions were already beginning to come true. The compassionate choices being made in the aftermath of the Zephyrian invasion were indeed shaping humanity's destiny among the stars. As Earth prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead, its people carried the knowledge that their greatest victories would come not through superior firepower, but through the simple human ability to see former enemies as potential friends. The mysterious ship had saved Earth from immediate destruction, but humanity's own choices would determine whether the species would thrive or merely survive in the vast galaxy that awaited them. The age of human expansion into space had begun, and the stars themselves seemed to welcome Earth's children home.